Hiya, and welcome back to Echo, the game where I swear to God, none of it hurts at all. So anyways, I do not know if this will be the last part. We will find out tonight. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, let's just jump right in. I find myself shielding my eyes from the glare of the unshaded light hanging from above. For a moment, I thought I saw something move in the corner, though it must have just been the glare. This room reminds me of the foyer, a cluttered mess with exposed drywall, electrical wiring, and damp spots all over the ceiling. There's a window to my right, and I think I can see Duke's truck parked outside. Duke mentioned something about Heather taking it while we were locked up with Brian. At first I think it's some kind of storage room, but then I notice the pink couch in the corner with the blanket, pillow, and alarm clock. There are dirty clothes piled up beside it, and judging from all the bras and panties, this must be where Heather sleeps. There's even a little closet in the corner with crayon children's drawings posted over the door. I take a step, though when I stop, something catches my eye. In the right-hand corner of the room, where I thought I saw something move earlier, a little green light blinks in the shadows. As I approach, I notice something. A pastel pink baby monitor thing plugged into the wall. It appears to be decades old, judging by the worn paint. But apparently, it's still functional. For some reason, I can't really explain, I pick it up and press this single circular button in the center. It crackles with a low hissing noise, and that's when I realize it's some kind of walkie-talkie. After a few seconds of holding the button, I speak into it. Hello? I nearly jump out of my skin at the groaning noise, mainly because it isn't coming from the device. It's coming from inside the room. My eyes dart around for the source, eventually finding one of the blankets piled up on the floor behind a table. It starts to move, and I quickly back up. Leo, get in here! Heavy footfalls can be heard sprinting down the hall outside, with the wolf pushing his way in with wild eyes. What's going on? He looks ready to pounce, though is met only by me and a bedraggled-looking ram trying to untangle the comforter from his horns. It's Carl! Yuck. Oh shit! Carl! There's a squeaking noise from the closet, and I notice Carl's unfocused green eyes start to wander in that direction. I look over and see the folding doors are slightly ajar. Were they like that before? That's when I see it. An eye. It peers through the crack, wide and bloodshot. The door is rammed from the inside, knocking it to the side and sending toys and other miscellaneous junk flying. A hanging light bulb flickers in the closet as a figure steps through. I quickly realize it's Heather. She has blood on her legs and a revolver in her grasp. You! Get out! Go the hell away! I quickly throw out my paws. Leo hesitates a moment, then does the same. Hey, girlie, we mean you no harm. We just need... Leo stops talking, and I'm not sure why. That is, until Heather shifts out of the ways and I can see more clearly into the flickering closet. Hunched against the wall is what looks like an enormous doll. On further inspection, it's not a doll at all. It's a man. And there's red smear on the wall behind him. I recognize him from the drawing. A portly fellow with circular glasses, each of the lenses shattered by bullet holes. There are just empty sockets where his eyes once were. Atop his head is a little plastic crown, embedded with costume jewelry. Oh shit! Michael walks in the room, quickly recoiling at the sight of Heather and the figure in the closet. Carl huddles back down against the floor, seemingly trying to make himself look small. At first, Micah starts to approach the closet, but quickly stops as Heather brings up the revolver, pointing it at all of us. I've never actually looked down the barrel of a gun before, and the feeling is petrifying. Heather, what the fuck are you doing? It's me, Micah. I don't care. You need to go. She shifts the revolver over, aiming it unsteadily at Micah. We all take a step back, my back now against the wall. Where the hell is Flynn? Did you shoot your dad? Holy fuck, Heather! Micah. Leo rumbles in warning. That's her fucking dad in the closet. I will kill all of you. A shot rings out and Micah flinches. The weapon was aimed at him when it went off. He blinks, shocked, the bat's hands beginning to shake as he checks his torso. He whirls around, spotting a light spray of blood around the bullet hole in the wall. That's when the paint hits him, and he slowly begins to raise his wing. Clipped right through the center is a bloody hole, the edges of the impact sites looking like frayed fabric. The bat slumps back, exuding ragged gasps. You fucking shot me? Leo's eyes bulge and he starts to move, but stops when the revolver is swiveled toward him. Heather! I shout, trying to draw her attention away from the others, though I quickly realize I have no clue what to say. We're just here looking for Carl. Remember, like we mentioned during the bonfire? My voice is shaky, crackling as I speak. The cat's chest rises and falls, like she's hyperventilating. It's been that way since she stepped out of the closet. She makes her way over toward the slumped form of Carl, still half covered in his blanket. Then she points the gun down at him. I'm going to shoot him in his stupid, fat, ugly face, unless you leave right now. She's absolutely screaming, her demands spouted with such a pitch her voice constantly cracks. Tears begin to roll down her already wet cheeks, her eyes puffy. Beneath her, Carl covers his face with the blanket, visibly trembling from a mixture of fear and exhaustion. Okay, right on. I swallow. That's the plan, right guys? We're just gonna leave, nice and slow. I do my best to put on a calm face as I nod to Leo and Micah. Are you fucking kidding me? Micah's outburst is directed toward me. No, not after we came all this way. We're not leaving the rich boy. He practically hisses his words. He's cupping a hand over his wound and trying to avoid stretching the skin of his wing, as that seems to just make the hole bigger. Heather, you have no reason to be keeping that chunky bitch here. Just let us take his ass and leave. Leave? Heather repeats. I have nowhere else to go. Nowhere! Everything used to be bad, but not terrible like this. Keith barely talks to me anymore, and when he does, he says... She breathes in shakily. He says the meanest things. I cover my ears and I can still hear him. Keith is fucking gone. Unless he gave you some secret cell phone number I don't know about. You can't be speaking to him. Micah neglects to mention what we discovered about Brian's habits and the potential fate of his fox friend. But it's probably for the best that isn't brought up. This is all hum shit, plain and simple. Duh, stupid. I know that. That doesn't explain anything, though. You just give it a silly name, but it's not silly. It's horrible and I hate it. Micah opens his mouth to snap back, but Heather shrieks, a blubbering of spit coming from her mouth, snot running down her nose. She begins to press her finger closer to the trigger. Carl, move! She doesn't fully finish pulling the trigger, leaving us all staring wide-eyed in suspense. She looks like she's dry heaving, trying to throw up an immensely sick feeling within her that will not leave. I can barely hear anything anymore. The ringing is so loud. It just sounds like him. He won't stop. Heather flails in the direction of the shadowy figure in the closet. Even though the man in the closet is very much dead, he's propped up in a way that makes it look like he's watching Heather pace around the room. His dark sockets following her while her back is turned. She seems afraid to look at him. The feline closes her eyes for a moment. I can tell Leo is weighing his chances of whether he can tackle her to the ground before she can get a shot off. Before he can move, they open again and she speaks, her voice shrill but quieter. Everyone thinks I'm stupid, that I'll never do anything but rot away like everyone else. And it has nothing to do with what Duke or Brian or Jeremy or Clint or anyone thinks will fix things. This whole town is so shit. No argument there. Micah mumbles, wide-eyed. And it's not your fault. They're wrong. I don't even really know you. She points the pistol at me, and it's like my heart crawls up into my throat, my whole body rigid with fear. This town is evil, and I'm going to stop it. I'm going to do something with my life for once, and not be some plaything. She growls at the ground as she says this. It's what Keith told me all the time before he went away for a while. Heather stands there, shaking in place as if trying to muster the courage to do something. She begins to strafe, getting closer to the closet and bending down to pick up something beside the corpse. It's a bloody folder, with a little booklet stapled to the front. I recognize the emblem on the cover. The Reclamation Bureau. Heather's paw covers the front, but I can still make out Otto's Dam Basic Operation and Procedures Manual. Outside, there's some movement by Duke's truck. Trying not to draw attention to myself, I glance out the window and spot the familiar pattern of orange and black scales in TJ's tufty fur. There's a glint of something metallic, Flynn's repeater, which is currently sighted toward the hysterical cat. Heather is so close to us now. Flynn wouldn't risk trying to take a shot, right? The idea of Flynn shooting anyone is just unfathomable in its own right. Bro, if Flynn shoots TJ, I am going to beat the shit out of him. Jenna's out there with them too. She's speaking to Flynn, pointing. The lizard is shaking, saying something back. This back and forth continues. What are you even talking about? I'm gonna make it so there's no town. As Heather turns away, she catches a glimpse of the blood on the folder, then looks back toward the closet. She screams, but she's not staring at the corpse. It's like she's looking above it, at something else at eye level. Daddy! Glass shatters against my back, showering Carl below. Heather lurches forward, trying to scream, but all that spews forth from her mouth is blood. It pulls through her gritted teeth into a puddle on the floor. Heather failing to gasp for air as fluid fills her lungs. She falls headfirst into the pool of her own fluids, tears still rolling down her face. Micah stands with his head in his hands, a look of shock plastered on his face. Nobody moves. Nobody says anything. Jenna enters the room first, her turquoise eyes fixed on the bloody form laying in the center of the room. Flynn is right behind her, looking initially rather gormless, though his eyes start to widen as he realizes what he's done. Oh. Good shot, Flynn. Everyone alright? I catch my breath against the wall, looking up only to see that slumped form still staring ahead in the closet. Quietly, I close the closet door. Yeah, I guess. Jenna looks over to Micah, spying the bullet hole in his wing. Her complexion darkens, and soon she's standing over Heather's body. Feline's eyes are still wide open, glassy with this sort of eternal shock. Jenna promptly delivers a swift kick to her head, Heather's neck now turned at a stiff angle. Bitch. Flynn rests his palms on his knees, exuding a dry retch. Leo steps over, trying to inspect Micah's wound. Flynn? Guys? Jenna's attention shifts to the ram on the floor. Carl, you can get up. It's safe now. We're free? Yes. And that makes 2 of these bastards who have tried to hurt us that we've put down. Flynn stops coughing up air long enough to gape at Jenna. That we put down? Flynn points to Heather. I killed her! I'm the one who pulled the trigger! Flynn's voice is strange, way more higher pitched than I'm used to. Right, after I told you to. Yeah, I listened to you, and now someone is fucking dead! Flynn covers his mouth, muttering quiet expletives. You saved everyone. Carl is okay, all thanks to you. TJ lingers in the doorway, half hidden behind it. Heather. She was leaving. We're all fine. Flynn sits in the corner, clutching his repeater with a grip so tight, I figure the barrel will bend at any second. Fuck! Don't say that! Don't fucking say that! I've never seen Flynn like this. I figured he'd be the sort to take something like this as a necessity of the situation, but he's visibly shaking. Flynn, no one is going to prosecute you. She'd killed her dad and then shot Micah. You stopped her, saved your friends, saved Carl with a single shot. If you want to feel bad about this, that's your prerogative. I'm just stating the facts. Leo says nothing as he looks over Micah's wound, the bat himself visibly fuming. You told him to shoot, even after she picked up her shit and was heading toward the fucking door. You killed my goddamn friend. That was not remotely apparent. The angle, fuck you, you piece of shit. Just like Jeremy said, you act like you know everything, and then when shit fucks up, you blame everyone else. Seeing Jenna increasingly backed into a corner, I decide to speak up. I don't think that's exactly fair. Rot, bitch. Micah seethes in my direction. Meanwhile, Leo mutters to him, seemingly trying to get him to calm down. Oh, is that where the moral high ground is? Where you're standing? You and your friends tried to break into Carl's house and tipped off his future kidnappers when he tried to flee from you. You are the entire reason we are here, Micah. And you still defend them, even now after seeing what they're capable of. That's absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable? Who the fuck describes being pissed that your friend got murdered as unacceptable? Jenna, it's a little more complicated than that. Let's just get Carl and hightail it out of Echo, yeah? Leo looks to me as if quietly asking for me to back him up on this. And what Heather's capable of? Finally finding the strength to stop her fucking skeeve of a dad? True monster, that. Jenna ignores Micah, her attention now on Leo. Oh, is this complicated for you? I'm so sorry, Leo. I know your sense of right and wrong can be a little addled sometimes. You know, with you running around, beating up people, sexually assaulting Chase in the mall, and fucking and filming a child. Bullshit. What? TJ is looking bleary-eyed and baffled in the doorway. Leo's jowls part, the wolf restraining a snarl as he releases his grip on Micah. His red eyes glare down at Jenna, and it's an absolutely menacing image in this blood-soaked room. Come on, Carl. Let's get you up. I'll grab some snacks and bandages, and we can get you all sorted on the way back to Peyton, yeah? You too, Swiss cheese. He pats Micah's shoulder, the bat's nostrils flared. The group exits quietly, Flynn still shaking his head. Jenna has her back turned to me now, facing Heather's corpse. I reach out to her, speaking quietly now that we're the only ones in here. Jenna, they're just worked up. It's this hum business, making people say all the wrong things, right? Why don't we get out? Her voice is curt and strange, words almost gurgled out through frustration and rage. Next thing I know, she's got her paw on my chest, pushing me out the door and slamming it behind me. That was certainly interesting. I press my forehead against the window, watching my breath fog up the glass. Carl's straddling the middle seat with Flynn driving, and they seem to be doing a good job of calming each other down. Everyone else is in the truck bed in the back. Everyone, except Jenna. She'd left without even so much as a goodbye, insisting that she would take Heather's dad's car. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. She kept claiming she had to do something. On our way out of town, we'd passed a couple burning houses and even heard a gunshot or two. It all makes me pretty damn glad this nightmare's almost over. Yet, we've been driving for nearly half an hour and still haven't reached the interstate. Usually Flint Road doesn't take that long to get through. Even Flynn is starting to get a little worried, checking for landmarks in the dark to make sure he hadn't missed a turn. I can still see the town in the distance, Echo, a glimmer of lights and smoke. 5 more minutes passed and we eventually reached the interstate, emerging seemingly from nowhere. Streams of ambulances and police cars begin to pull in on the opposite lane, all heading into town. I glance out the back window for one final look at Echo when I notice something amiss. The lake. It's bigger. Way bigger. The shore is all the way up to the highway, with trailers and small vehicles peeking out from the tide. The others see it too. It's then I remember something. When Jenna was leaving, there was something she was holding on to. A slightly bloody folder and booklet that she tucked away into the Reclamation Bureau vehicle before heading off. I suppose you won't be coming back after all. Oh. Fuck. Excellently put, kid. Wow! We are almost done with the game. Holy shit. Holy fuck. Oh, hiya. Yeah, that was the bad ending. We still have one more to go through. We're almost done. I just want to see if something's in the credits real quick. Let let's also just take this time to just like mentally prepare for the good ending. Okay, get back in, this time here. Okay, what was it that triggers good ending? Okay, I just Googled it. Oh, thank you. I was really fortunate growing up. I had a boyfriend I loved, a group of friends who supported me, and a family who gave a shit. And I'm like, and I'm not like the world's most mentally healthy, and I'm not like the world's most mentally healthy person, you know? I see a completely alternate timeline where I'm just like the rest of those guys in Tetanus Alley. Or worse. I rub the back of my neck sheepishly. I'm not good at making reassuring speeches, but this is all stuff I've admittedly thought about before. That rat guy was right. Having someone around who gives a damn means the world. And isolating yourself from said world isn't how you make yourself better. It's the opposite. And for keeping me sane, I do think I kinda have you to thank for that, in some part. My voice cracks and I try to cover it with a cough. Smooth. Thank you, Chase. Jenna smiles lightly. That's actually rather beautiful. Has this been on your mind for a while? I shrug. Lately, at least. Well, I'd like to think that his and your sentiments are true. If we have time, I might stop by to see Jeremy. When I talk to him, it sounded like he wouldn't mind seeing you again. Jenna chuckles briefly. It's strange, isn't it? The notion of you talking to him now, as adults. As kids, we were all so at odds over truly stupid things. I suppose I'm curious whether he's grown up as well. I guess we'll see. Jenna raises a brow. Maybe, I mean. All this being said, I'm truly not excited to go back to and talk to him, or his friends. For Jenna's sake, I can grin and bear it, though. I guess I have to ask, what made you think of this? I mean, the story about your grandmother. Was it just talking about tech stuff on the reservation? Jenna ponders this question for a moment, looking a bit more like her usual. Oh, I can skip all this now. This might take a while. Jenna doesn't even seem to react to Heather at first. She shuts off the screen on her phone and exhales, looking Heather in the eye. She doesn't speak immediately, and there's this sort of latent tension in the air. Yeah, it is a bit silly now. We're all very much grown-ups here. And I appreciate the hospitality. You know, actually, we've got some spare cooked bluegill in the car. Spare? Flynn grunts. Flynn caught and cooked it himself. Flynn looks slightly less disgruntled after being credited, but it's clear he'd really intended the food to be for us. Oh, bluegill is good. I really like walleye, though. I just caught bluegill. Caught some bass at home, but didn't bring it. Also, walleye ain't really in season. It sucks. Cool you caught and cooked it, though. It's really rustic. I usually just get something from the gas station. You're welcome. As for issues with remembering things, I'm not quite licensed to be issuing diagnoses. But I did briefly volunteer at a memory center up in Peyton. I actually think I have a card here still in the bottom of my purse. Jenna digs through her handbag for a moment before withdrawing a faded little card. Heather takes it, peering it over with some visible trepidation at the clinical text and brain imagery imprinted on it. If you can get a ride up there on a weekday, they generally can take walk-ins. The clerk there is a super nice horse guy named Jessup. He can help you get set up with Medicaid to pay for it if you're not already covered. Horse guy? Oh, that's super neat. Thank you. It would be really cool if they could, let me pick and choose which memories I get to keep, though. Jenna smiles, a flickering sense of melancholy behind her turquoise eyes. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Of course, the challenges and traumas we overcome shape who we are today. Oh yeah, totally. So double bummer if you're not exactly happy with who you are today. Right, Jazz? She lets out a sad-sounding giggle. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Flynn blink some, then peer offward awkwardly. He spits on the ground, the faint smell of his venom wafting in the breeze for a moment. I'm guessing he bit that cap too hard. Jenna opens her mouth to respond, but she pauses. Her ear flicks some as she folds her arms over her chest. Yeah, double bummer. Let me go get that bluegill. I'll be right back. Oh, okay. Jenna heads back toward the truck, and we're left standing awkwardly with Heather. Yeah, so, I'm gonna go get the others real quick, so... Bye! Before we can say anything further, she takes off again. In the distance, I can see her start running, her arms flailing like a palsy-like limpness at her sides. I can't help but feel a sort of queasy sensation at the sight. This is what this place does to people. Jenna returns with the Tupperware, letting out a long sigh as she sees Heather in the distance. Props to you for not smacking the shit out of her. That was, weirdly cordial considering. Oh, no, part of me wanted to. Trust me. That would have made things harder for this whole questioning business, for sure. Well, there was that, and I suppose I was thinking about what you told me when we were walking earlier, Chase. Flynn raises a brow ridge, waiting for her to explain. She does not. I get the feeling you guys have a more intense history than I thought. I tried not to talk about it too much back in the day. Back then, she was rude to me even when I'd done nothing wrong to her. I figured she was just insecure and left it at that. Then one night she came to me with no one else to turn to, tears in her eyes. She had some pretty serious problems going on at home and claimed she had no one to turn to. From that point forward, I was ready to defend her, to help in any way I could, short of going to police, of course, because she begged me not to. It started out as little things, the favors. She was too emotionally distressed to do her homework, so I did it. She couldn't come to class because of a panic attack and the teacher wouldn't understand, so I lied for her. She needed money to see a friend in Peyton, so I gave her what little money I had. This went on for some time, until eventually enough was enough. I had my own problems, especially at home, and I just couldn't juggle the well-being of everyone. That's not my responsibility. I told her up front that I was going through a tough time and couldn't do those favors anymore, but I was always available to talk. That wasn't good enough, of course. Despite being busy with her fractured home life and the stresses of school, she still found time to create this elaborate revenge on the one person who cared enough to help. Next thing I know, her latest boyfriend of the week and his friends are pounding on my front door at 10 p.m. And what does he tell Mom and Dad when they open the door? She deepens her voice, putting on a dude bro accent. Yo, look for Jasmine. She told us to meet out here to get some. So not only did they convince my idiotic parents that I was fucking 5 guys, including her boyfriend, she told the whole school. I had my paw smashed in a locker, was fired from my part-time job, and lost almost all my friends outside of you guys. Jenna gestures to the both of us. She made herself the sufferer in that narrative, the one who had mistakenly trusted the weird, horny anime girl. Jenna takes in sharp breath from her nostrils, her composure otherwise completely solid. And she didn't even have the dignity to atone for her actions when the chance was standing right in front of her. She continues to lie and manipulate her way through every social interaction to make herself feel better. It's the perpetuation of this endless cycle of perceiving herself as this sort of eternal victim, when in reality it's complete delusion that hurts her and everyone around her. With the way Jenna rattles off point after point regarding Heather's transgressions, it's evident this is something she's thought about greatly. Maybe even rehearsed. I can't believe you never told me any of this. When I was hanging out with you guys, that whole drama was the last thing I wanted to think about. It was actually Leo who kept prodding me that something was wrong and insisted he help. I suppose he meant well enough. Down the hill a ways, the dusty shape of two figures can be seen from an old shed. One of them pauses as he sees Heather sprinting off down the road, while the other ignores her and carries on. Eventually, though, the both of them see us and begin making their way in our direction. Welp, here comes the gang. I sidestep over to Jenna, lower my voice on. But, are you okay? Jenna seems slightly surprised at the question, giving me a light smile. Maybe one day she'll realize what she did, even if it's not today. So to put it simply, I'm good, Chase. Thank you for the concern. After what she just expressed, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but I'm not going to press the issue. She probably really wanted that catharsis. So, what did you come back with your posse to intimidate us or whatever? Jeremy's dull eyes are focused on me. I'm starting to feel increasingly intrusive, standing next to their bonfire with their beer. I think we already went through this, but I can't skip it. Ugh. So I'm just going to Ugh. Oh, here we go. I sigh, rubbing my palm over my face. We need to find Carl, but this isn't any way to go about doing it. Nothing. I'll do it. Good. You're a schizo, but I never really took you as the sort to be down with torture and shit. Part of me is kind of happy to see Clint get his ass kicked, though. Oh yeah, fucker deserves a deck to the jaw every now and then, but I've counted 3. A flick of nervous smile crosses the bat's face. Yeah, not cool. Thanks. He says that last bit so quietly, I almost missed it. The bat's already back to smushing his nose against the dusty window, trying to get a good look at what's happening. His brow furrows. Wait, where'd he go? Hold up. I just want to see the thing again. The bitch. Jeez. Her eyes drift to the skull cropping out of the mound of dirt. God, I've passed this so many times just out here walking, never knowing there was a person buried here. How old is the ID card? I squint at some of the smudged text. 70s, I think. At least that's when it was last renewed. Jenna frowns. Poor guy. She crouches down beside me, taking the license for a moment. You should hold on to this, so that we can give it to the proper authorities for them to handle. I wonder if anyone out there is still looking for him, or even remembers who he is. Her eyes flick over the little card, settling on the picture. It looks kind of familiar, too. She hands me back the ID, then extends out her arm to help me up. With a knot in my stomach, I take her hand and use her ways. I think he might be in my head. The words leave my mouth more casually than I meant, and Jenna does a little double take toward me before letting go. Well, tell him I said hi. We'll deal with him in a bit. She's just like Cynthia sometimes. He says you're just like Cynthia sometimes. Jenna stares at me, then the grave, and back to me. She brings two fingers to her temple, massaging it. Chase, please don't listen to the voices in your head right now. She responds curtly as Micah arrives behind her, Leo hobbling at his side. Just try and get through this. Jenna also steps in, her arms already raised. Heather brings up the gun and points it at her. Heather, what the fuck are you doing? It's me, Micah. I don't care. You need to go. She brings the revolver up, aiming it unsteadily at the lot of us. We all take a step back, my back now against the wall. Where the hell's Flynn? Did you shoot your dad? Holy fuck, Heather. Micah, stop talking. That's her fucking dad in the closet. I know. I will kill all of you. A shot rings out and I feel something spray against my face. I I quickly reach up, rubbing my cheeks and finding bits of plaster from the wall next to me all over face and shirt. My blood turns to ice as I realize there's a bullet hole about 6 inches from my head. Leo's eyes bulge and he starts to move, but stops when that revolver is swiveled toward him. Heather! Jenna shouts, quickly trying to get her attention. Heather. She says her name again, this time more softly, now that the wild-eyed feline is looking at her. We're here looking for Carl. Remember? Like we mentioned during the bonfire. The cat's chest rises and falls, like she's hyperventilating. It's been that way since she stepped out of the closet. She makes her way over toward the slumped form of Carl, still half covered in his blanket, and she points the gun down at him. I'm going to shoot him in his stupid, fat, ugly face, unless you leave right now. She's absolutely screaming, her demand spouted with such a pitch her voice constantly cracks. Tears begin to roll down her already wet cheeks, her eyes puffy. Beneath her, Carl covers his face with the blanket, visibly trembling from a mixture of fear and exhaustion. Okay, sounds good. We're happy to leave. Jenna does her best to put on a calm face as she nods to the rest of us. We'll take Carl with us and we'll be out of your hair. We're planning on leaving town. Leave? Heather repeats. I have nowhere else to go. Nowhere. Everything used to be bad, but not terrible like this. Keith barely talks to me anymore, and when he does, he says... She breathes in shakily. He says the meanest thing. I feel like we've already read through this. Sorry, I don't mean to sound disinterested. I'm just Michael whispers harshly. Smell of... Alright? Yeah. Peachy. Micah promptly walks toward the closet door and slams it shut. I don't want to look at that anymore. There are no objections to that. Jenna walks over to the blanket Carl is hiding under. Gingerly, she pulls it off him, exposing the rough-looking ram underneath. He flinches at first, but the next thing I know, Jenna's pulling him in for a tight hug. Carl's own massive arms envelop her, the two embracing long enough for Flynn and TJ to finally arrive. Carl! TJ gasps. Flynn, meanwhile, stops dead in his tracks at the doorway, looking a little shaky upon his feet. Jenna pulls back, wiping her eyes with the back of her forearm in such a quick movement, I don't think anyone but me noticed. Carl himself can't stop shivering, as if the room is freezing. He's still visibly disoriented, mind racing as all these familiar faces appear in front of him. Carl, you big cloven idiot. Oh my fucking god. Flynn drops his rifle, stepping up and resting a large hand on his shoulder. Dude, he mumbles, a rasp of disbelief. I'm gonna go get him some water. Hey Micah, come with me and look for some food. Something that'll go down easy, yeah? The bat nods, not as interested in this tender reunion as the rest of the gang. They head out toward the kitchen. He's hurt. Flynn points to the raw, inflamed-looking skin around his neck, as well as the various cuts and bruises that appear elsewhere on his body. Looks pretty surface level, but we definitely should get him to a doctor in Peyton. We're free? Carl asks, looking up at me. Looks like it. I respond casually, approaching him and giving him a big hug of my own. He's so warm, and his shaky breath against my neck actually feels pretty good. TJ joins in as well, sobbing into Carl's fur and muttering things I can't quite make out. Hey, you too. Carl eases his grip some on me, peering up at the tall lizard leering over him. What? You heard me. Flynn frowns, but ultimately relents and crouches down, giving his friend a stiff hug. Carl, meanwhile, clings to him like his life depends on it, evoking a few irksome grunts from the scaly one. Despite the pained noises, I catch a glimpse of Flynn's face. He's smiling, more broadly than I've ever seen him in a long time. Carl scoops up another spoonful of tapioca pudding, the remnants of the other empty cups he'd gone through sitting on the counter next to him. I've only managed to get halfway through mine, it feeling pretty messed up to be eating a dead guy's food. In my free hand, I'm fidgeting with the pink walkie-talkie from Heather's room. I'm not entirely sure why I picked it up, and when Leo gives me a look, I shove it back into my pocket. Carl vomited after we got him to the kitchen, twice, so I guess it's good that at least he is doing a little better. He'd cried for 15 minutes straight, while our wounds were tended to. TJ seems to have mainly snapped out of whatever funk he was in earlier, beyond an occasional strange look toward Flynn. His knowledge of sports medicine actually came in handy when with patching everyone up with what we could find on hand. Fortunately, Heather's dad was not short on painkillers. Don't get me into that fentanyl shit. Are you sure? Those cuts look pretty painful, and it'll be a long ride back to Peyton. TJ inspects the prescription bottle. Curiously enough, the pharmacy label has Brian's name on it. I've lost too many friends in Pueblo to the stuff. You went to Pueblo? Jenna chimes in from across the hall, watching out the kitchen window. Well, I wasn't exactly enrolled at PU. I bummed around the outskirts. I'm surprised you never ran into any of us there. You most likely didn't frequent the same spots, unless you really like tattoo parlors and ska. I love ska. Shut up, Toby. It's TJ now. I gassed up my truck with a few of the gas cans laying out by the carport. It's got a full tank, so we don't gotta risk stopping at the gas station on Flint. We load up, gun it, and we should be in Peyton just before daybreak. Sounds like a good plan. Does it? I clutch my forehead, the voice from earlier ringing between my ears. After everything had settled down, I honestly hadn't expected to hear it again. Any sign of Heather? No. Last I saw, she was heading northbound on 65. She frowns in thought. North? Fucking beats me. There's not much going on to the north. There's no real exit back to the main interstate system. Just the old military area. Lots of country roads that lead nowhere. And the dam. The dam. Oh, fuck. All eyes shift to me. She's heading toward the dam. Her dad worked there. No one has opened the closet since Micah shut it. And? Flynn grunts, dangling his repeater from his fingertips. She took that folder with her when she left. The one about the dam operating procedures. Really? I didn't get a clear look at what she was holding. Yeah, I'm telling the truth here. I believe you. Flynn squints his eyes some. Are you saying Heather is going to fuck with the dam? I mean, what else could she be doing? We all heard her speech, right? Yeah, she was screaming it. That bitch can barely operate a doorknob. You think she can figure out how to open a floodgate of that size? Michael pulls out a beer from the fridge, sipping on it gingerly before speaking. I'm pretty sure I remember her dad brought her up there to work a lot when we were growing up. She hated it. He disappears back into the kitchen. For someone who has experienced the things we have this evening, he seems oddly composed. Makes me wonder what kind of shit he's seen before all this. I think back to some of my preliminary research I did for my project. And by preliminary research, I mean looking at the county website's historical section for 30 minutes. One of the things that jumped out at me was how big Lake Emma used to be, over twice the size it is now. Most of the lakes in this part of the state are man-made, but this one is natural, ancient. The settlers just shrunk it down, siphoning away water for the big iceberg lettuce and cotton fields to the east, past the mountains. Alright, let's load up, everyone. Leo changes the topic, him and Flynn heading to the door. Wait. Jenna steps over beside me, seemingly in deep thought, before regarding everyone else. So, we know what Heather's plan is. And you all still intend to leave? Yes. Leo responds promptly. No way she can manage what she's planning. We gotta get Carl and the rest of you lot some medical attention. You sure about that? She's got her dad's keys, the codes, the guidebook, and presumably she's got a pretty keen knowledge of how all this shit works already. I mean, shit. I want to get out of here, but the poor fuckers who are still here better know how to swim. You think Echo would flood? Micah shrugs. Jenna presses her fingertips to her forehead, exhaling. I truly hate to say it, but we should go after her. What? No way. Absolutely the fuck not. There ain't no goddamn way you're making me drive the opposite direction of ending this whole nightmare of an evening. Jenna turns, giving him a look. Fuck you. Jenna smiles tiredly up at the big Gila. I knew you had some common sense in there somewhere. And maybe even a heart. I get stuck here because I'm the only fucker who knows how to shoot and someone needs to watch your asses. He pauses. Ah, fuck. My ringer's on. Also, I just know my aunt would kill me if I let this shit go down. Her being the mayor and all? Yeah. Since when did you suddenly start giving a shit about Echo Townies? The question is clearly directed at Jenna, the lizard grunting in her direction. Jenna shifts in her seat, having to straddle in between Flynn. His truck isn't very big, and none of us particularly wanted to ride in the back. Besides TJ, of course, who always seemed to enjoy being in the truck bed. Fortunately, I managed to call shotgun, which may have not been the wisest of things to shout when everyone was on edge, but too late now. I don't know, she says all matter-of-factly. This evokes a raised brow from the lizard. I just thought about myself, leaving everything behind like that, knowing what might happen, and I didn't want to be that person. Flynn blinks, wondering if this is truly Jenna he's talking to right now. Fuck, college makes you a bleeding heart, doesn't it? Leo wasn't kidding. He sighs, the highway stretching on in front of us for miles and miles. Jenna turns to me, giving me an appraising look before speaking. Thank you for coming, Chase. I know you didn't have to, but it means a lot. Oh yeah, no problem. Every inch of my body longs to be heading homeward, driving back to Peyton, to freedom. But here I am. At least Jenna's here. Despite everything that's happened. Brian's attack, the hallucinations, the kidnapping, the haunted van, the voice in my head, Heather's house, and the town going nuts. Everyone is silent as our headlights shine down the long stretch of Route 65 ahead. Maybe we're just exhausted. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. I exhale and rest my forehead against the cool window, watching the town's lights blur past. Soon, the lights stop and are replaced by darkness, shadows of shapes barely visible through the condensation-tinged glass. We never go this way. No one does. We're getting close to Echo Canyon. The bumps and hills of Echo being replaced by vast open desert, contrasted by the sheer cliff face of the western mesa. There's not much out here but land owned by the feds, most notably the dam and the old proving grounds. I remember there used to be a checkpoint booth up ahead, but it hasn't been manned in decades. It's here you can see the lake most clearly, all of it. It seems smaller than I remember. Oh my god, ow, fuck. That was loud. Yet there's still that tightness in my gut and the urge to look away. So I do. I keep my eyes fixed on the space between my feet, Flynn's camouflage patterned floor mat oddly captivating. It's then I notice a blinking green light shining through my left pocket. Instinctively, I think it's my phone and reach for it, but then I remember as I pull it out. It's the pink walkie-talkie baby monitor thing from earlier. I run my thumb over the surface of it, feeling the worn, chipped plastic. It looks like there might even be little teeth marks on the side, like a small child gnawed on it at some point. I remember being like that, thinking everything colorful must be some edible dessert waiting to be bitten into. I press my thumb against what I think is the talk button, but any labels on this thing have long worn off. Bringing the device up a little, I open my mouth as if to speak, but stop short of actually saying anything. I realize I don't want to freak the others out right now. Seeing the lake again, I look back down. Hello, good sir. I freeze. Hello? Flynn looks over at me. Jenna stares ahead. Hello, good sir. Same voice, crackling and old, spoken in the same cadence as before. I glance over and Flynn's gone back to focusing on driving, with Jenna still looking at the road blankly. No one's reacting to this thing going off. Hello, good sir. Is there a voice really coming from this old toy? I stare at the flashing green light and am reminded of the van from earlier. That voice felt much more vivid. Alive. Real sound. This one is like I'm remembering a sound, but I've never heard this voice before. And how are you? Huh? And how are you? It repeats. It's distorted, but it sounds like a woman's voice. I've been better, that's for sure. Sorry to hear that. Oh. I guess it can read my thoughts? That's comforting. Things will get better soon. Start to consider sliding the walkie back into my pocket. Nothing this thing is saying can be doing me any good right now. Especially noting that I'm the only one hearing it. Just more hallucinations. Crazy swamp gas, tulpa bullshit. Doesn't seem to be saying anything now. The minutes pass and I begin to relax some. I look past the device in my paw, the night sky reflected upon the surface of the lake, a streak of white light where the moon is. Not your fault. The voice comes through a little clearer. What do you mean? Not your fault. Intentions, pure. The words start coming out even choppier, as if hastily clipped from an audio file. It was a loving act, and one cannot fault themselves for a loving act. What are you talking about? I wish we could talk. More, but you have places to be. Places to be. The road begins taking us into the canyon proper, and the light on the walkie flicks off. I've never actually been here before, I mutter. Fascinating. Now keep your fucking voice down. I see your car up by the service building. The building itself isn't too large, only about 500 square feet, with windows on all sides. We creep forward, Flynn with rifle and grasp. Micah, Carl, TJ, and Leo are hunkered down behind the truck, out of the line of fire. Leo had been pretty insistent on going with us to approach, but both Jenna and Micah agreed that would probably be a bad idea. Unsurprisingly, we're the only vehicles parked out here. Alright, Jenna whispers, wiggling her paws out on either side of her, as if to shake the nerves out. I'm going to announce myself and approach. Flynn, please just keep line of sight. Maybe she won't be as crazy out here? You know, on account of it being less hummy or whatever. Flynn's look is utterly goddamn perplexed at whatever I'm talking about. Honestly, I don't fully understand it myself, but its effects were pretty damn evident earlier. Well, that's a theory. It's all Jenna says, giving my waist a gentle pat, to which I frown. Okay, I need to set up. Flynn eyes an outcropping along the side of the canyon edge next to us, pointing to it. The slope isn't too steep to climb, and the bushes and rocks act as natural cover for a vantage point. I'll be up there. If you need me to shoot, just make the Charlie horse symbol behind your back or something. Charlie horse symbol? I ask. Flynn rolls his eyes, then moves his hand down to his thigh and makes the OK gesture with his fingers but turned upside down. I recognize it instantly, moments before Flynn strikes my thigh with his knuckles. Jenna quickly shoves her paw over my muzzle, shooting a glare at Flynn. Flynn! Unacceptable. Flynn appears unapologetic, checking the lever on his repeater. Okay, I'm heading up. Jenna lets out a little puff of air, her tail still behind her. Flynn turns, glancing back at her. I got your back. She gives the Gila a grateful nod. Thank you, Flynn. There's a pause, and she speaks again. I'm glad you've cooled down since your outburst at the river. I know how much you wanted to talk. There's a strange timing to Jenna's words, a finality to them, as if she's getting words unsaid out in the open before facing the danger that awaits us. I think Flynn recognizes this and he stops. Sid's dead, you two ain't yet. Let's keep it that way. Jenna and I stand there for a moment. Wow, I mutter. I can tell it's an oversimplification of Flynn's feelings on the matter, but right now, that particular spat can wait. The others are starting to peek their heads out from behind the truck, wondering what we're doing. Not too late to back out, you know. Come on, Chase. Of course, I do appreciate the sentiment. I could always just take Carl's advice, though. He spoke to you? He was zonked out in the truck bed last time I saw. She nods, lowering herself to a crouched position. I do the same, with a grimace. He mumbled, suplex her. I let out an amused exhale through my nose, untangling my tail from a bush I'm pushing through. Oh, Carl, good to have him back. As we approach, I can see the front door to the service building is open, light spewing out from the inside. We're far enough away that our truck isn't really visible. We prop ourselves up on either side of the door. Sniffling and distraught mumbling can be heard from inside, including the rapid flipping of pages and clicking noises from a computer terminal. Hey, Heather? The noises stop. Oh boy. Jenna looks over at me, lowering her voice. Chase, you may want to get back. What? No, I'm not leaving you. Jenna? You followed me? Here we go again. Jenna comes out from her cover and I peek in as well. Inside, a computer with a bunch of monitors hooked up on the wall is turned on. One of those monitors has a window open called Floodgate Control. Maybe she knew what she was doing after all? Chase? I grimace, trying to quickly shift it into a smile. Hi. I can practically feel the cringe from Jenna beside me. I don't know why I said hello like that. Long night. I clear my throat. We wanted to make sure you're okay, and maybe see if you wanted to maybe reconsider your course of action. Heather reaches over toward the desk, and the next thing I know, she has her pistol trained on us. We quickly duck back behind the wall. You two can't stop me. I know this is what I have to do. I saw the future in like a dream, a waking dream. Everything worked out. Everything was underwater. There was peace. This has to be done. It has to be done. Her eyes flicked to the murky black water at the foot of the dam. There was quiet. It was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. You know what I mean? Jenna watches Heather keeping close appraisal of her twitchy hand upon that revolver. Yeah, I do. Jenna responds flatly. I think we all do at this point. At least somewhat. I can see Flynn up on the rock ledge, moonlight glinting off the metal barrel end of his repeater. He's looking at us with a curious expression. Then you understand? You don't, do you? The question must have been rhetorical, because she answers it before we can. I knew it. I should have stopped you when you broke into my house. You're bad, just like the rest of them. She raises the gun. There's the pitter-patter of small feet behind me. The next thing I know, Micah's right at my side. One of his paws is on the small of my back, the other outstretched in front of us. Whoa, wait a second. Heather's tear-filled eyes shift to the bat. You again? God, why are you all here? Hear me the fuck out. No, you hear me out, idiot. Keith was like an umbrella. All the bad stuff just bounced off when he was around. After Keith left, everything went to crap, and you know it. Everyone started getting weird or leaving. You left, so you never saw how it got bad. You didn't have to watch it happen. We were all such good friends, and it's like I'm watching everyone dying. I feel like I'm dying, Micah. Everything hurts, and I can't think well anymore. And Daddy... She takes in a sharp inhale between her fangs, sputtering a bubble of spit before catching her breath. I just need to make it all go away, and everything will be fine. I'm gonna move somewhere happy. You can move and be happy right the fuck now. Nothing is stopping you. Micah spits back. This is just the hum talking. You and I know how this shit goes. It'll pass and you'll feel better. We'll all feel better. No! She screams, and Micah quickly ducks behind the edge of the doorway as she brings up her revolver. I do the same, though for a second I think I see a flash of color behind her that wasn't there before. I peek past the edge of the concrete wall long enough to realize what it is. Jenna sees it too. That same tall, burned figure from Ryan's trailer. It looms in the back of the room, staring at us, waiting. It's almost like a statue, unmoving beyond little twitches where it suddenly shifted in position. It's unstable, or at least that's the best way I can describe it. Jenna! I see it. Heather's ranting about something, but I can't really focus. It's getting closer, another foot nearing to Heather. What the shit? Jenna steps out from behind the wall suddenly, holding up the palms of her paws. Wait! Astonishingly, both Heather and the thing stop, though it's still very much there, looming in the background. It's as if the world itself is distorting around it. 3 holes pierce its face where the eyes and mouth should be. I look back up toward where Flynn is at. He definitely should be able to see this thing. I half expect a shot to ring out at any moment. When I glance back, the thing isn't looking at Heather anymore. Stark holds it aimed toward the hill outside the door, where Flynn is. Heather stands wide-stanced, her finger an inch from the trigger. Heather, when I was growing up, I was very fortunate. It's not something I truly realized until relatively recently. Despite my circumstances at home, I truly had some incredible people, and other things. Jenna's eyes briefly flick up to the figure, looking out for me. The figure's head tilts ever so slightly. Brian is dead. Your father, he's certainly fucking dead. There's some zeal to Jenna's words, and it becomes rather evident she thinks this is a good thing. And they can't hurt you anymore. A thick tear streaks down Heather's cheek as Jenna takes a step closer, pointing outside to the south. Back in town, there's still people who genuinely care about you, the ones who have stuck with you throughout all this. Jeremy, he's a complete turd, and I'd give him a... Okay, serious now. Jeremy. He's a complete turd, and I'd give him peace of my mind if I saw him. But he genuinely likes you. Same with Clint. But Clint talks about all the things we used to do to you guys growing up, and all the things that were said. Why are you saying they're good? What we do as children does not have to define us as an adult. Heather, I don't honestly believe you want to hurt your friends. Heather shudders, hugging herself. I'd honestly be tempted to rush her for the gun if that thing weren't still standing behind her, watching Jenna speak. Heather sobs, her thin wrists trembling as if the weight of the pistol in her paws has burdened her for too long. Finally, they droop, the gun limply hitting the floor. A flinch, though thankfully it doesn't go off. The red entity lingers so close to Heather, it's practically touching her. Then it's as if a great silent wind sucks it backward, its body contorting to the pull, a strip of its flesh disappearing into the void. And then it vanishes, fading into nothing. I rub my eyes. It's gone. I can hear Jenna shudder beside me, before stepping up and taking the guide and keys and tossing them promptly into the water below. Micah picks up the gun, flipping open the chamber and spinning it with his thumb. Out of bullets. Fucking hell. Flynn skids down the mountain, nearly tripping as he hustles over. You mad fucking tit-dirts actually did it. Micah and Jenna are staring at the spot where the monster was moments ago. Flynn, despite having us in his sights the whole time, seems oblivious. You should get the key to the city or some shit. Though that probably only unlocks an outhouse or something. Micah walks past him, letting out a string of unintelligible expletives and shaking his head. The sun begins to rise past the mountains to the east, the sky starting to become illuminated with the purple and amber hues. In the distance, you can just barely make out one of the Mormon settlements down the river, on the edge of the reservation. I rest my head against the side of the truck, mentally exhausted beyond words. I try to think of the entity, but it's like trying to remember a dream, a fading horror that seemed to be so real at the time, but surely couldn't be. There's a soft thud beside me, and I soon realize it's Leo's butt, the wolf holding his concussed head in both paws as he rests beside me. Ugh, about ready to head out, Otter? TJ and Carl approach, the ram shivering and the lynx gently rubbing his back. Oh, we're going? He helps the ram up into the back. I mean, in a bit, I guess. Jenna and Micah are talking to Heather. Flynn wanders over, throwing the rifle in the back before leaning his rump against the tire. In the past, when shit got tough, the lizard would always run off to deal with things on his own terms. Yet here he is, slumped and exhausted like the rest of us. Finally, Jenna joins us. I give her a little thumbs up as I pass. She returns the gesture before sitting down as well. She props her chin up in her paws, her fluffy tail perked up to avoid getting smushed in the dirt. We all sit in relative silence, beyond the faint sound of crickets and gently lapping water. You know, I'm gonna miss this place. Jenna glances over, frowning some. You know I was joking, right? I expected some laughter there. I think you're plenty funny, Jenna. I respond, tiredly. Micah, seemingly out of nowhere, comes up and props his elbow on the hood. Shut up, Chase. Now, are we fucking off or what? Oh! I dab my napkin in TJ's glass of water, wiping off the sticky syrup stain on my seat before sitting down. The lynx gives me a little look before taking a sip from his glass. About time. Here they come. Flynn's peering out the window toward the sheriff's office across the street. Sure enough, our trio of friends exit through the glass double doors, checking for traffic before crossing over to us. A few reporters from the parking lot spot them and try to get their attention, but Leo ushers them forward. He mutters something and Micah laughs, glancing over his shoulder. Jenna just shakes her head, clearly annoyed but relieved nonetheless. A few more squad cars roll out, honking at the news vans to get out of the way before heading down in the direction of Echo. The police were sure busy in there. Yeah, and no wonder. They're all going to be in deep shit for their lack of response to all this. What was it, 14 hours before they even sent out a squad car to investigate the blackout? Well, the detective I talked to claimed they sent them out earlier. There was some kind of traffic trouble. They couldn't get to us. Oh yeah, traffic trouble. That sure is a fucking valid excuse to ignore a whole town suddenly losing its internet and telephone communications. Flynn grunts, the Gila looking over toward the quiet ram on his side. He's still wearing his dirty tank top, though the EMTs bandaged up the cuts on his arms and fetlocks. Fortunately, Leo's dad called and said that he's going to pick up a fresh pair of clothes for him. He also stated that Leo, Flynn, and Carl could stay over at their house while the authorities sort everything out. Since they closed off Flint Road access to Echo, no one can exactly go back for their stuff. Not that we're in any rush to go back, of course. The ram stares at the checkerboard patterned tabletop, saying nothing. Flynn frowns, nudging the ram with his shoulder. Hey, fat ass, why don't you take a look at the menu? I bet some chocolate chip waffles and ice cream sounds good right now, eh? The lizard smiles down at him as he slides over a menu. Carl looks up for a moment and sluggishly flips it open. I think they serve your parents' brand of ice cream here. TJ forces a smile, which is a strange sight in and of itself. A happy face usually comes so naturally to the Lynx, but now he just looks frazzled. Understandable, really. Something cold sounds good right now. Fuck yeah, I bet. The ram flips to the next page, though I can see he's not really reading anything. His face starts to scrunch and he exhales through flared nostrils. He scrunches again and soon his gaze falters, his arms beginning to shake. His eyes press shut and he lets out a nearly inaudible sob, tears rolling down his cheeks. Flynn reaches over and puts an arm around him, tugging him close. Shh, it's okay. He squeezes the ram's shoulder. Carl sniffs, hiccuping once before letting his muzzle push into Flynn's chest. TJ looks away, his own eyes beginning to water again. I'm going to order you the banana split and a big glass of lemonade. He pauses. Also a salad, for your health and shit. The Lynx begins to quietly cry, though keeps his face hidden by a napkin. We must be making quite the scene for the other folks in here, but I rightly don't give too much of a damn. However, this is all making me realize that I sure could go for a hug right about now. Flynn, still holding the traumatized ram, looks at me across the booth with a soft frown. As the two non-weeping members of our group here, I guess there's some solidarity in that. Not that I feel particularly great or anything. I certainly feel a lot less numb than I did in Echo, though. Thinking about all that happened really freaks me out, so I've just been trying not to. At least right now. Chase. Yeah? Thanks. His tone of voice is so strange and sincere, I can't hide my look of surprise. No problem. I think we owe the most to Jenna and Micah. Yeah, I already talked to them at the station. Never would have thought that little shithead bat would never do anything that didn't serve himself. Yeah, he's pretty cool, I guess. Kinda think you would get along with him. Flynn lets out a little grunt, running a hand up and along the ram's arm. Wouldn't push it that far. And guess we'll never know, cause I'm not moving the fuck out quick like. My house is probably worth jack shit now, even less than it was before. But I'll worry about money later. TJ wipes his eyes, clearing his throat. Maybe you could start one of those online fundraiser things, since this is getting so much attention on the news. I'm sure there are plenty of people, like the folks at my church, who would be happy to donate to help you get on your feet. Take charity from strangers? Flynn looks out toward the news van outside. A particularly antsy-looking newswoman is currently getting chewed out by a police officer in SWAT gear, though it looks like the news lady is grilling him right back, shoving a microphone in his face. I think that's what I want to be one day. A guy with a camera chasing tragedies for profit. Maybe I should change my major. I glance back toward Flynn and Carl, the ram still visibly crying, but no longer racked by quaking sobs. For some reason, I smile, if only for a moment. Or you could just marry the wealthy heir you helped save from abduction a couple hours ago. I'm going to turn the music up a bit. I'm sure that comes with some financial stability. TJ immediately stops crying, blinking at me, then Flynn across the table. Flynn's eyes go wide before he quickly furrows his brow. Fuck you, Chase. Despite everything, if the lizard could blush, I have a feeling he'd be doing so right now. Carl does seem to hug onto him a little tighter. The bells on the front door jingle as they pushed open, and I can see Leo peeking and searching for us. Once he spots our booth, he gestures in our direction toward the others, and they make their way over. I swear, those fucking useless pigs were gonna keep me locked in there indefinitely until you vouched for me. Just because they can't do their fucking job, they gotta find someone to pin all this bullshit on. Why not the kid with the record? They're still trying to figure out what exactly happened. And they won't, because it ain't the sort of thing that can be figured, you know? Oh, I do now. Jenna closes her eyes for a moment, though they open again as she startles from Leo coming behind her. He's about to speak when a particularly rotund alligator woman saunters up beside me. She's wearing a white polo shirt, jeans, and a blue pancake house apron. Why, hello there! Y'all got enough room here in the booth? She smiles, seemingly unfazed by the sorry state we all look to be in. I suppose when you work at a 24/7 diner in the middle of the desert, you see some oddball customers. TJ blinks, then mutters an apology as he scoots himself over closer to Flynn. I do the same, and Jenna moves to sit beside me. Micah and Leo take the opposite side. We're in a long corner booth that actually has several mini tables. But with all of us together, we're shoulder to shoulder in here. We each tell the waitress what we want in no particular order. Micah practically blurts out what he wants: 2 hash browns, 6 house-style waffles, toast with strawberry jam, and a side of bacon. Meanwhile, I ask for a large iced tea with a bowl of vanilla ice cream. Jenna insists I get something healthy in my stomach, so she offers to split her turkey sandwich. I smile at her and accept, relaxing against the pleather backing of the booth's seat. Our server finally gets to Flynn and Carl, and both of them don't seem to be too focused on what she's saying. Flynn is staring at his phone, and Carl's leaning into him with a distant look in his eyes. TJ gingerly nudges the Gila, and Flynn quickly looks up at the alligator. Oh, a banana split and a garden salad, please, with 2 lemonades. Pink. What? Pink lemonade. Flynn... Why did you... Oh, whoa. Flynn looks at Carl like his last shred of masculinity can't possibly bear to utter those words out loud. Fortunately, the waitress writes down Carl's correction with that same unjudging smile. 2 pink lemonades. Ugh. If that's all, I'll be back with you folks in a bit. Carl lowers his noggin back into Flynn while the Gila goes back to staring at his phone. Can't get a hold of my aunt. Mayor aunt? Oh! That's pretty epic. Yes, my aunt was the mayor. Maybe she's tied up with the police, sorting stuff out? I offer reassuringly, picking up a sugar packet from the table and emptying it in my mouth like an absolute cretin. Bro, that's god tier. Yeah, but you'd think she'd call me back. Leo raises... Jesus fuck. Leo raises an eyebrow at me from across the table, taking a sugar packet for himself. Hey, Otter, you should have heard Carl's dad falling over himself thanking Jenna over the phone. All the cops in there were calling her a hero, yeah? Oh, quiet, you. Hey, I'm sure I could have been just as smooth if I was one up for talking Heather down. I look at Micah and can't tell if he's being serious or not. Whatever you say, little buddy. The wolf downs his sugar packet, smirking some. He and I used to swipe these from the diner all the time. Creamers, too. He'd always go for the aspartame or stevia-based ones, though. I can see Jenna giving us a curious glance before refocusing her attention on me. Anyway, the police were pretty happy with you, too. It takes me a second to realize what she's referring to, and I quickly wave a dismissive paw. Well, I'm sure I just gave them more work. That is their job, Chase. TJ, who has been relatively silent next to me, looks increasingly perplexed, his ears folded downward. With everything going on, I realize I hadn't told the rest of the gang about my discovery. For those not present, I found an old corpse on the side of the road, from like the 70s. This gets Carl, Flynn, and TJ's attention. Found is putting it mildly. He picked up a patch of dirt and started digging until he found the guy's body and wallet. What? I hold up my paws, shaking my head. I can't explain it. I can't explain a lot of things. The fact that the body is so old, though, means I'm not a suspect, at least. A weirdly sour feeling courses through my body, and I instinctively squeeze my tail beneath the table. But they ran the guy's name through the system. His disappearance was so long ago, they don't even have a record of it anymore. They did find a living family, though, or at least a point of contact from what I heard. Jenna smiles. I'm sure whoever they are, they'll be grateful for what you did. After 4 decades, I'm not so sure. Maybe it will just dig up old wounds, raising more questions than answers. It's not like I told the police my dream about the van or anything, or who the original owner was. To think, Sydney's dad killed a guy. No wonder he ended up the way he did. There's a moment of silence, Micah staring impatiently at the kitchen, and Flynn dialing up his aunt again. Jenna exhales, breaking the quiet. Regardless, I'm just glad you all are okay. Micah's fingers and neck are healing up nicely, and you two are finally separated. Jenna nods towards Leo and I. There's no way in hell that phrasing wasn't intentional. She has a self-confident smile on her face, though when neither of us respond, it diminishes. Leo just looks kind of distant. Not like before, of course, when he was all loopy post-beatdown, but he's got a lot on his mind. He hasn't really processed yet. I know exactly how he feels. Dick. Micah muses, idly tearing strips of his napkin off. Huh? Dick? That was a dick thing to say. Well, that's pretty rich coming from you. Micah's about to say something when Jenna cuts him off, speaking first. No, he's right. She brings her fingers to her temple for a moment, thinking before focusing on Leo and I, making sure to meet our gaze. Acting like we're all still in high school, teasing you two about your relationship. It's not appropriate. And ultimately, it's driven by jealousy. Leo blinks. Jenna? It's not something I like to admit, but a lot of what I do is driven by that. The need to have things I wasn't afforded growing up. Micah looks up from his napkin, eviscerating. The edges of his mouth curled into a soft frown. Flynn glances over as well. A prank I orchestrated over 3 years ago led to this whole situation, picking at a raw nerve and leaving it to fester. My mind flashes to images of my smashed cell phone sitting on the pavement, Leo calling for me as I walk away. Do I think you two should be together? No. But is that any of my goddamn business? Also no. And for that, I apologize. Wow. Flynn speaks my mind. We should go through more tragedies if it gets you to admit you're just as shitty as us for a change. Flynn grunts. Jenna waves off Flynn's comment. But seriously, Leo, don't hump chase at a children's arcade and then destroy it when you get caught. You smashed up an arcade? I did. You know, I'm a kind of a rebel. A real badass. Leo clicks his tongue against the roof of his mouth, letting a moment of silence pass as he glances offward. Nah, I'm a fucking idiot. Leo seems to be purposefully avoiding Jenna and I's gaze. Hey, people did worse under the effects of the hum. Manifesting a tulpa of one's ex-boyfriend, it's a bit much, no? Ex-boyfriend. I suppose that settles it, though I can feel how much it hurt for him to say that. He smiles regardless, of course. Well, if the tulpa's given good head, there's not much to complain about. Seriously, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I can't help but chuckle, and a few others do too, including Leo. To describe any of this in any sort of way that does it justice seems utterly untenable. Look, I reckon it's best if we put some time and a few beers in between this event and us before getting into the nitty-gritty details, yeah? Oh, planning another Echo meetup already? I ask, trying to sound more lighthearted than I feel. Fuck no, Otter. We've got the internet if we want to talk. My inbox is always open, though I think therapy may be the safer bet than beers. I could get you some harder stuff. Best thought in the world just popped up in my brain. Where's it at? Where the fuck's it at? I know it's around here somewhere. And I'm not finding it, and it's making me sad. It's bullshit. Where is it? Where is it? Jeez, where is it? Drawing? Ah, here it is. Okay, where's Monica's? What even is going on? Okay, so Micah said so. The context is some shit went down, and it wasn't real good. And right now I'm shit posting. I can get you some way harder shit. Okay. Genocide. Like, she seems to regret the question the moment she says it. I'd have to say Micah is my favorite sidekick. Right? You ever had a foot-tall devil dog cake with a strawberry, cherry, and raspberry filling? I know a place off Santarina and Busby and Pueblo. I genuinely thought he was going to say, like, LSD or, like, drugs. Would take your mind off anything. There! I can also get you some heroin. Micah, for God's sake. I'm just kidding. Christ. The cake place closed years ago. We talked for a few more minutes, mainly riffing on what the hell we're all going to do after this. The food arrives before Jenna and I really get a chance to weigh in, though. Not that I'm complaining, of course. The vanilla ice cream looks delicious. And Jenna's sandwich she offered to split doesn't look too bad either. She sets in gingerly on my plate. Flynn glares at his pink lemonade as if it had just insulted him. Fucking hell. What? He glances over to Carl, who seems to be working up the energy to sit upright enough to eat his food. This looks like you're pissed after too many energy drinks. That was once. Carl speaks up in a sniffly voice. The lizard looks like he's about to take a tentative drink right when his phone goes off. He quickly snatches it up. Hello? Mark. He leans forward, resting his elbows on the tabletop. Yeah, hi, I left a message earlier. Have you heard anything from my aunt? He frowned suddenly. Okay, why? Alright. Lizard takes Carl by the shoulders and straightens him out, the bleary-eyed ram blinking some as Flynn tries to stand and scoot past him. I'll be right back. Flynn, after accidentally bumping Micah in the face a half-dozen times, manages to exit the booth. He heads out toward the parking lot. Ordinarily, I get the impression this would annoy the shit out of the bat, but he's too excited for his plate of food to complain. He dives into the bacon first, shoving it all in his mouth as a whole wad. Even Leo raises his eyebrows a bit. Don't choke. I think Micah mumbles an expletive at him. The hungry guy is already moving on to his jam and toast by the time I bite into my sandwich. We eat in silence for the most part, though it's not exactly awkward. I think we're just mainly content to have each other's company, after everything we've been through. I can't fathom being alone with my thoughts after all this. Though in the quiet, I do get to thinking about that voice that spoke to me by the van. Seems like a distant memory now, but it was so clear. We've been together for some time. I'm with you. You're indecisive by nature. I choose. Those words stick out to me the most. Glancing around at my friends, I decide to try something. I let the ambient noise of the diner fade out, focusing on trying to remember that voice. The one I've heard before. I close my eyes, emptying my mind of worries and other thoughts. This is turning into like some Avatar: The Last Airbender shit. I wait. Jenna nudges my shoulder, a french fry poking out of the corner of her mouth. You falling asleep on me, Chase? I refocus, managing a reassuring smile. Oh, no, I'm just taking a moment. Oh. She nods, as if this made perfect sense. No clarification needed. You holding up alright, though? I think I'm okay, actually. Really? Her tone is skeptical, though in a sort of jokey way. Yeah, really. She finishes the rest of her fries, wiping her paws off with a napkin before something catches her attention across the room. Oh, would you look at that? A jukebox. I follow her gaze, spotting it by the door to the bathroom. It's pretty retro, it even has those plastic It even has those plastic neon-filled tubes that flash when it's turned on. You don't see many of those these days, or jukeboxes in general. Maybe most folks saw them as a nuisance than a mood setter. Come on, let's take a look. Okay. I'm not sure why this is so interesting to her. After scooting out, she offers me her shoulder, her tail swishing gently behind her. I offer her a little nod of thanks, using it to help myself stand. Leo looks up at me from his plate of chicken and waffles. We meet each other's gaze for a few seconds, and he smiles. Alright, easy now. The EMTs already gave my leg a proper dressing after we got to the police station. Hell, they tried to get Leo and I to go with them to the hospital. Yet, of course, the last thing Leo wanted was for us to all get split up again. I actually agreed with him this time. Plus, I've heard horror stories about ambulance bills. I relinquish my leaning on Jenna, and we walk, I hobble, toward the jukebox. The music selection is pretty dated for the most part, but there's some modern dance hit thrown in there, surprisingly enough. They're scribbled on with permanent marker on sticky note labels. Jenna makes a show of inspecting the options, though she speaks up toward me. Hey, hello? She lets out a little laugh, then sighs. Sorry, I haven't gotten a moment to speak alone with you for some time. Something on your mind? She nods. A lot, actually. There's a considerable amount of things we've seen, that we've experienced, that will never make plausible sense to anyone but us. Jenna gestures discreetly toward the rest of the group at the booth. I notice that Flynn is still not back. It does sort of put everything into perspective, I guess. Yeah. Part of me wonders whether I made the right decision. The musing comes as some surprise. Jenna never one to really doubt her choices, or at least make such doubt known. What do you mean? Well, from what I've figured from both your historical research and what Micah has said, this hysteria is cyclical. It always comes back and ends up hurting whoever is around it. Now, I don't know whether it's gases seeping through the ground, weird radio signals, or something in the water. And I'm not sure anyone ever will. But what Heather wanted to do, flooding the town, that would certainly put a stopper on anyone trying to live there again. I don't think anyone is going to be wanting to stick around there for a long time after this. Jenna's gaze shifts to the tile floor beneath our feet. Yeah. For a long time, she repeats. I try to think of what to say next. In the background, I can hear Micah saying something crude about the origins of syrup. I glance back and see Leo chuckling and TJ covering his face. Carl stares out the window. I don't know if you can really fight forces of nature. Whatever is going on, it feels much bigger than us. But what you can do is help people, I guess. And that counts for something. What you did for Heather, despite everything she did to you, that counts. Second chances and all that. Jenna smiles. Chase, that's very nice of you to say. Very sappy, of course, but still sweet. I'm not quite sure I can fully see it that way, at least not yet. Her tail thwacks me a little, and after a brief moment of nearly teetering over, I thwack back. I think we all turned out okay, noting the circumstances. Echo's this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, and the shitty situations brought us together in the end. And I don't regret that. She taps her fingertips against the glass of the jukebox, looking elsewhere. I wonder what it would be like if Sydney were still here. The question catches me off guard. As far as I knew, Jenna never really liked the kid back in the day. Still, I guess he was part of our group, hence the thought, maybe? I don't know. I don't really want to think about it, to be honest. Maybe he'd have helped Leo beat the shit out of Brian. I blink at her, the words sounding strange coming from her mouth. She looks at me, furrowing her brow. What? He was really into that wrestling stuff. I cross my arms over my chest. I guess. There's a long silence. I had a dream about him early on in the week. And once everything started, hitting the proverbial fan, I remember hearing these strange voices. She doesn't elaborate on that specific thought further, shifting focus to me. I didn't make anything of them at the time, but noting everything that happened later, she stops for a moment. If you want to talk to me about what happened sometime, just let me know, okay? I try to read her expression, the offer seemingly sincere. I don't see any sign of judgment or scrutinizing intent to her words. As usual around her, I find myself not quite sure what to say. Whatever happened to you claiming you're not a therapist, I'm not. I'm your friend. And I wanted to stay that way for a long time. Despite my awareness that original question can't help but feel a little fuzzy from that statement. So, just a friend, huh? Now it's Jenna's turn to be caught off guard, but that surprised look in her turquoise eyes lasts only a second. Oh, perhaps you got the wrong impression this past week. I look at her and feel my heart starting to sink. I do mean, my mind was under the effects of a town-wide sweeping hysteria, after all. I can't be held accountable for my actions. However, she sucks in her lip, staring at the ceiling as if in thought. If you wanted to take me on a proper date when we get back to Pueblo, I wouldn't be opposed. I feel myself slowly starting to grin, and have to quickly reshift my face into a less creepy expression. Oh, okay. Not opposed, huh? She lets out a humored exhale, shaking her head. To speak candidly, me teasing and flirting with you around Leo, that's not really me. Or at least, that's not how I want to be. I should be better than that. Otherwise, I'm no better than Flynn at the river, plucking at raw nerves. I'll admit, I was kind of worried that you were just doing all that to be competitive with Leo, like I was some kind of game. Jenna nods. Oh, that's completely true. What? I was, to at least some extent. Hence the offer for something a little less biased. I look at her, a little gobsmacked, but at the same time, I can't help but feel appreciative of the honesty. I guess I'll, consider your offer. She smiles, and for some reason, she kind of reminds me of those old femme fatale types from old noir movies. In the meantime, I'm definitely going to start writing about our experiences here in Echo. Specifically our most recent ones. How it augmented the perceptions of people, sometimes even in groups. It's almost downright paranormal. Almost. Nothing's actually paranormal. I'm certain there's actual inputs and variables which determine certain triggers that resulted in what we saw. On a personal note, I'm just happy none of the effects seemed to linger once we left the town. No tulpa version of you hanging around Leo, no monster chasing TJ, no red figure following me, no visions of Keith for Mike or Heather, and you. How's that possession by the roadside ghost working out for you? I rub my head, feeling the welt from Brian's pistol whipping peeking out of my fur. I'm pretty sure he's gone. Huh, who says you can't run away from your traumas then? She winks and I find myself smiling a little goofily. This is also insane, but I sure am glad she's here to talk me through it. Now, Chase Hunter, the true question. She turns to face the jukebox. What should we pick? What should we listen to? You know what? I don't know. How about you choose? Jenna gives me a quick nod. Whatever you say. Oh, here, this one looks good. She leans in and presses a button on the machine. Oh, happy ending. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Echo. Oh, I agree with that. I think this one. Yeah. Honestly feels weird. Uh, 10 out of 10. Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'm actually going to, do some research for a minute real quick. I'm going to keep you all on here because, yeah. let's just take a moment to sink in the fact that that's it. That's it for Echo. Actually, let me see what's all there for Echo Project. Or rather, my computer. Okay, I have a quick question for you all. What game should we play next? Like, what visual novel should we read next? Because I have a couple on here. Or rather, I'll find... Wait. Yes. It's a fan mod. No, that one isn't finished. Okay. Okay, I'm going to post a poll on Twitter. By the way, I don't think there's going to be a stream at all tomorrow. Like, I don't know if there's going to be. Okay. Okay. I just posted a poll on Twitter. We will have 24 hours to vote. There will be no stream tomorrow. And essentially, it's asking... Actually, let me post a link to it in the chat real quick. Okay, there's a link to it. So, essentially, this is going to decide what we do next. There's two options there, Adastra and Neko Jishi. I will work on getting a lot of shit finalized in the playlist. Which, by the way, if you want to re-experience Adastra, not Adastra, Echo, there's a playlist on YouTube that you could watch. Go through that. But stay safe, have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed Echo.